Okay, so this list is going to be my Halloween fragrances, and it's related to black bottles. And what I've done is try to relate it to sort of TV characters, not necessarily scary ones. So yeah, here goes anyway, folks. Enjoy. So first up, we've got Piano Santal from L'Orchestre de Parfum, and I've kind of related that one to Lagertha from Vikings. And the reason it's gone with Lagertha is because it's obviously a very woody scent. Now it is a creamy, smooth, kind of sweet sandalwood, and I think actually that kind of matches Lagertha's touch of femininity. Obviously she's a warrior princess and a shield maiden. Now these shields would have been made of solid wood, obviously not sandalwood because it would, the swords would get stuck in it, but it would have that she'd have that kind of woody smell about her. And it's kind of very comforting, and it's got touches of spice, and it's quite smooth, and it's very classy. And obviously I think Lagertha would have had that kind of interesting touch to her, and she is based on possibly a real existing myth of a great warrior princess, a great shield maiden. I believe she was queen of Sweden, or yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Sweden actually, for quite a while, and obviously she would have got there through being fierce and warrior-like, and I just think that that it really matches her. So for Lagertha from Vikings, there is Piano Santal from L'Orchestre de Parfum. Right, thanks folks. Now next up is a fragrance one, and that's Office for Men from them, and that's obviously in a nice black bottle. And who I've picked for that is one of my favourite characters from ever. I think he was kind of a comic book superhero kind of person first, but was in a film, and that's V from Vendetta. V for Vendetta. I got there in the end. And the reason I love him is, obviously, if you know me, I'll kind of love him. Obviously in the film his purpose is to get rid of the corrupt government, which is ironically run by John Hurt. Now if you know the irony in that, John Hurt plays Winston Smith in the film 1984, and that's kind of where the kind of essence of this runs from. That obviously V for Vendetta is about getting rid of this controlling corrupt government, a bit like maybe what we have nowadays. That's a different thing. Anyway, Office for Men is, of course, quite an obnoxious, loud fragrance that kind of leaves an impression and announces your kind of presence, and I think V would quite enjoy that, smelling quite, in everyone's face. He's obviously got quite a cocky attitude, hasn't he? And he'd quite enjoy that. So I think it's the perfect fragrance for that. So yes, for V from V for Vendetta, got there again, I have picked Fragrance One's Office for Men. Next is Boss's The Scent Parfum, and who I've gone for that is actually a bit of a, probably think a weird one, but it's Dark Willow from Buffy the Vampire Slayer. This is Willow who's lost it, who goes full on kind of psycho. She has lots of reasons behind that, plus obviously as quite a meek character, the more power she gets, the more and more kind of addicted to it she gets. So it's quite crazy, but Boss the Scent is kind of, it's the thing about the scent is all the DNA is that Meninka is quite a dusty, musky kind of fruit, and it creates this kind of book feeling. I think it is quite sweet and fruity, but it's mixed with the leather and the iris and stuff, creates this kind of image of, like, I don't know, like a library with spell books and stuff, and maybe a touch of, like, magic potions and things like that. And I think it kind of suits that kind of Dark Willow pretty well. So yeah, for Dark Willow from Buffy the Vampire Slayer, I have gone for the Scent Parfum from Hugo Boss. Next up is actually a really kind of interesting character, and that's Coraline's bad mum from the film Coraline, with her button eyes. And what I've picked for that is Robert Cavalier's Womo. And the reason I've gone for that is because I think it kind of suits her. It's got this very sweet kind of beautiful black violet running through it with a touch of iris. So it does have that kind of old school kind of feel to it. It is much sweeter and darker and richer, so it's more of a modern perfume. But with them running through it, along with it with everything else, it makes it this really dark, kind of blackish purple smelling fragrance, and that seems to match. Obviously the differences is obviously the bad Coraline's mum has got the buttons on her eyes, but she's absolutely psychotic, and there's something about Violet that kind of leans that kind of a little bit evil kind of psychotic way. It's a beautiful note and it's one of my favourites, but I don't know, it always makes me think of that kind of dark purple, makes me think of that evil. You'd have to watch the film, but she's a really good bad character in it. So actually, yes, that's Coraline's mum, button mum, from the film Coraline, and that's Robert Cavalier's Womo. So next on the list is, of course, Killian's Black Phantom. How could that not be on the list? Such a great night as tonight. And who I've chose to represent Black Phantom is, of course, Batman. Now, would Batman wear something quite so sweet? Probably not, but let's be fair, the name matches it. Black Phantom is a very sweet, dark, boozy coffee fragrance, and yeah, it works perfectly on these dark, mysterious evenings. So yeah, for Batman, the Black Phantom, I've picked Killian's Black Phantom. The next one on the list is Killian Kisses, and the reason I've picked that is because I think it goes really well with Dracula. Now, Dracula comes in all sorts of different forms and shapes and sizes, doesn't he? But ultimately the running theme is that he's a very charming, enticing man, and something as sweet as kisses is also very alluring and will draw people closer to him. Also, there's a touch of irony in that, isn't there, with the fact that he kisses your neck or bites your neck, however you look at it, and sort of drains all the blood from you. So I think actually the two go really well together, and it's got that sweet kind of lily of the valley also running through it, which is quite, it's traditionally an older fragrance, isn't it? And that kind of adds to that kind of vintage touch with that very modern gourmand sweetness to it. So for Dracula, I've got Kisses from Killian. Okay, thank you. Next up is a fragrance that I love, and that's Bulgari's Man Black Orient. And it's related to a character that you've all probably forgotten about, and that's the Smoking Man from the X-Files. And the reason I think these two go well together so much is there is a little smoky element in it, but it's not just that, it's that the fragrance itself is so dark, and he's got so many twists. But obviously he's a real man in the series, so he's quite an elegant, classy man, but he does stand out, and he's quite power mad, and I think somebody who's quite power mad, maybe like me, would love this fragrance. It smells very expensive, and it's got the kind of dark oody leather touches to it, and it's a really very interesting, intriguing fragrance, and it kind of matches his mystique, his mystery and that. So I think the two go together very well, and I loved him in the series and I love the fragrance. I think they're just perfect for each other. So anyway, yeah, but for the Smoking Man from the X-Files, that's Bulgari's Man Black Orient. Okay, now of course it's not technically in a black bottle, though it's quite a dark bottle. It's got a black lid, and how could I not have this? It's Dior Homme Parfum. Had to be here, and I have to go back to the character I've used before for it, and that's Cersei Lannister from Game of Thrones. I mean, come on, could there be a better fragrance? It is very dark, it's got a bit of the original DNA in the sense it's got the iris in it, and it's got that kind of smooth woodiness to it. But with this one, there's the dark rose underneath it all. And to me, I get a bit more of the rose in the iris, and the iris is a little more floral than it is that kind of lipsticky, as it's called, iris. That's what I get. Plus it's got the leather in it, a really nice dark leather, making it a darker fragrance. And on top of that, it's got a touch of oud apparently in it. You can't really smell it, but I suppose it's there to give it more of a darkness. And nothing matches Cersei better. That kind of, yes, she's very feminine, but that dark, strong, kind of traditionally masculine, powerful, ruthless streak in her. And I love the character, as you know, and I think it goes really well. So that's Dior Homme Parfum, and that's with Cersei Lannister.